Alrighty. What's going on, YouTube? My name is Stephon. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Reckless Live. Please make sure you guys pop that like button, hit the subscribe button, and please smack the notification bell so do not miss any more posts from me. Now, today, guys, I have a different type of video for you guys today. I will be doing a panel. Now, normally when I do discussions, I usually have myself or something like that. And I decided, you know what? I think it'd be better if I have different opinions about certain topics. So the discussion that I'm going to be having today is about being melanated and also being same gender loving. Now, for those who do not know what same gender loving is, same gender loving basically means you're part of the LGBT. But however, people typically use same gender loving because they want people to focus on that there is love involved when it comes to homosexuals, trans people, and stuff like that, because people get so stuck on the sex part. All right, so that's with me today. The first person, this individual has a YouTube channel. His name is Michauli, and his name of his channel is Reading Rainbow. So let's please give a warm welcome to Michauli. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
All right, so do me a favor, please introduce yourself. Let people know what do you do, where you from, and as much as you want. I'm gonna mute myself. Hold up real quick. All right.
Okay, hey guys, my name is Michauli. I have a YouTube channel called Reading Rainbow. I'm typically that one problematic channel where we just be talking and getting into some things. I'm also a music artist. I produce, I write. I'm on Spotify. I'm on all of those things. So make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms at I am Michauli. That's Michauli. And I can't wait to get this conversation going because I got some stuff I got to say.
I know that's right. All right, so guys, even though I said I have a special guest with the S at the end, so which means I have one more individual coming to meet me. All right, now we ended up coming across on YouTube. His name is Bongani. So let's give a warm welcome to Bongani. And hopefully I didn't butcher that because I'm known to butcher your name. So please introduce.
It's all good. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Bongani. I'm relatively new to this whole YouTube, and I'm kind of from that generation of it wasn't computers and stuff necessarily when I was growing up. So I'm still kind of getting used to, that you can actually, in fact, I just started doing YouTubes about like 4 months ago. Prior to that, I really didn't know much about it. What brought that on was my desire to help with Black rights movement, but particularly for gay rights, because as I have understood, there is a huge divide between homosexuality and being a Black man. That's a problem, you know what I mean? Because we need to address those issues so that others similar to myself or like us, you know what I mean, that are involved in the movement but also homosexual, we need to bridge that gap of understanding and know that homosexuality is not a colonizer quality. You know what I'm saying? That our ancestors kind of began that way. In any case, that's just a little bit about me. I'm about 40 years old. I have a college degree in physical therapy. I used to do that. I have been laid off since March with COVID, so I've been home. I've been studying a lot. I read, you know what I mean? I like to stay well versed in as much as I can. Yep. Happy to be here though.
Okay. All right, so what's going to happen first is that I'm going to, of course, keep you guys muted, keep us from talking over each other and stuff like that. So what's going to happen first, I'm going to read off the first question. All right, so the first question that we have is, when did you know you were same gender loving or a part of the LGBT? Now, this question, I'm going to start off with Bongani. So let's get ready. First, I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? All right, great. Oh my gosh. So I knew since I was a kid. In fact, my mom told me that she knew when I was 3 because my favorite color was pink. And actually it still is pink and purple too, actually. But growing up, I knew I was different. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you, yes, I'm going to grow up and be a gay guy, because I didn't really understand what that meant. You know, growing up in the 80s, you can imagine that homosexuality was still very brand new. It was still very, and actually the year I was born is when AIDS came out. Of course, we all know that was government introduced, but the hatred for gays was particularly strong during the 80s. So I really didn't associate myself with being gay until I was about 16. And I had read an article about a young lady who had a coming out experience that I was like, oh my gosh, that is me. Like I need, when you first tell yourself that you are gay, you need to tell yourself first. I mean, I don't care what my family thought. I don't care what anybody else thought. Okay. I needed to be okay with me. And once I could do that, the rest is a wrap. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where I started there. I was about 16 years old before I really, came to terms with things. Yeah.
Okay. So I knew that I was queer. I want to say about I want to say about fourth or fifth grade. I always knew, not even on like a sexual standpoint, but I knew that I was different from all of the other kids. While everybody was doing basketball and football, I was the cheerleader. When everybody I wanted to be the cheerleader when everybody was, watching NASCAR and this, that, and the third. I wanted to be Malibu Barbie. It just was what it was. And I agree with what Bongani was saying. Like, it was just one of those things where I have to come out on my terms and I have to admit to myself who I am. And once I processed that, everything else was just like, oh, girl, fuck everybody else, girl. I know who I am. Everybody else can kiss my ass. So, yeah, I knew since I was about fourth or fifth grade.
Alrighty. I will have to agree with both Bongani and Michauli. I knew when I was younger, I didn't really know exactly these emotions feeling were, but I knew that I was different. This is that like to say children don't know what's going on when they're younger. They don't know anything about sexuality. I agree and disagree at the same time. Yes, they know what it is exactly, but however, I can't speak for heterosexual children too much, but however, I can't speak for homosexual children. We know when we're young because we know that we're different. And you may ask yourself, how do we know that we're different? Well, when you have little, just say if I'm in a class or whatever, in my elementary class or whatever, and you're wondering all the boys in the class have a crush on Tiffany, but however, I have a crush on Tommy, that's how you kind of know that you're different because you're like, okay, all the other boys are here liking her, but I'm not really attracted to her. I'm attracted to him. Now, even though I may not have what I may want to do with those attractions, but however, I do know that I am attracted to that person. It's the same people say when a kid gets angry. They don't really know what angry is, but they know that they're frustrated and they're mad. So that's what I kind of tell people. So for future reference, so when I tell you guys, when I say, hey, anything else you want to say, can we move on? Just go like this. We go like this. It lets me know we can move on to the next question. And if not, go like this, just so that lets me know to unmute you and let you speak. All right, so are we okay to move on to the next question? Okay. All right. So the next question that we have, did you feel safe in the class? All right. So I feel like you're gonna have a mouthful to say, Michauli. So I'm gonna start in with Bongani again. So let me mute myself and then we're
gonna did I feel safe? No, because I've always been different. You know what I mean? It's much like you guys were saying, where the other guys are into females and things of this nature, athletics and stuff. I just really wasn't there. I was always into academics, reading books, and I always like to be creative, accessorize when I get dressed and things of that nature. I'm not necessarily the classification because you have many different classifications of gay guys. You know what I mean? You have from one feminine spectrum to the more masculine spectrum, and within that spectrum, we kind of behave certain ways. You know what I'm saying? So I was always a bit more of the masculine aspect of things. So I never really it was, I don't know, I just never really felt safe there because I always knew that others recognized my differences. You know what I mean? So I knew that that would, and honestly, in today's intolerant society, all you have to be is different. You don't even have to be gay, truthfully. You can just dress different. You could wear bracelets. You know what I mean? Anything that is outside of what mainstream media or mainstream society would consider male behavior, you know what I'm saying, is considered abnormal male behavior. The problem there is that we live in a very intolerant society that is ruled by an oppressive force of white people that at all levels hate us and want to destroy us. And so the concern there is all these issues that, of hatred and intolerance and things are not actually our issues. You know what I mean? That's how they feel. You know what I mean? So when I see my fellow brothers and sisters going in on gay people, I'm like, wait a minute. Y'all don't realize that we came from the continent of Africa itself. I mean, there were kingdoms that were all gay. You know what I mean? Like being straight was rare. You know what I mean? Nobody cared. Nobody came in and say, "Oh, you fags," and all this other stuff. No, it was one love, always one love. That's my point. You know what I mean? So that's yeah. Okay.
So I never really felt safe in the closet, more so because growing up, even though I had to admit to myself that I was gay, and even though I was technically in the closet, everybody knew that I was gay. Like when I was going at it with people, the first thing that was coming out of their mouth was, "Oh, you a faggot, oh, you a punk, you gay, you this, that, and the third." So it's not necessarily that I felt safe, but more so I felt like being in the closet was very dangerous for me because for so long, I tell people this all the time, it is so hard trying to be two people at once. When I'm with my friends, my really, really close friends, I could be myself. But, when I'm in front of my mom, I got to be this way. Or when I'm at school, I have to be this way. When I go to my grandmother's house, I have to be this way. Like, it was just too much going on. And getting older, especially like in high school, I realized that I was surrounding myself with a bunch of down low men, not realizing how problematic that can be, because more so it's just like, and I'm not one of those type of people to call down low men a coward, because I understand coming out is a very hard thing to do. And, people love you until you show them who they really are. And they're so quick to cut you off and have nothing to do with you. But it was one of those things where I felt like the people that I surrounded myself with, it's like, you're not going to be down low gay, and then you're going to be talking about other people who are living their truth and being happy and living their lives. And then in the meantime, you also out here talking to girls and you getting all up in them. And then you got these women walking around talking about, "I'm tired of these faggots taking our man, this, that, and the third." So at that point, I had to come out and be like, no. Let me tell you what it really is. You like to talk about us gays when you really need to be watching some of y'all men, because some of y'all men is fucking y'all, coming back and fucking these niggas and not telling y'all. So I'd rather so if I'm going to be gay, I'm going to be on the right side of history, one of those who just live their lives, and that's just that on that.
You was surrounding yourself around a trade, baby. I know that's right. Let me stop. All right. So, first thing I want to talk about is what Bongani said. I do agree is that if you're different, you do end up having a target on your back. But to answer the question directly, I kind of agree with both of you guys. No, I didn't feel. For me personally, I felt safer in the closet, because even though I felt like people already knew, even like people already had a hint or whatever. But the thing is that what made it different for me personally is that for me it was like, since they didn't have no confirmation, they didn't really come at me initially. I'm gonna say they didn't come at me, greet me with homophobia initially. Like at first they'd be like, I don't know. But then once I started to be out and proud, that's when certain individuals would greet me with homophobia right off the bat. Because confirmation. Now, since they have confirmation, I got an X on my back. And that's the thing too. So, but one thing I did hear you say, Bongani, is that, about there's with you're different and stuff like that. But however, in the Black community, we're not, from the way I perceived it, in the Black community, we're not able to be different because you're different, you're a freak, and you get ostracized and bullied for it and stuff like that. This is a conversation I was having with somebody else, and that's because we hyper masculine, masculinity standards in Black community compared to European culture. Because for Black community, you just about have the same type of individuals. I'm not gonna be stereotypical, but you have the drug dealer, you have the jock, then you have X, Y, and Z. But the thing with that is that they usually get bullied or whatever. But for European culture, you have the geek, you have the rock star, you have the emo, the rock star emo, gothic, you have the jock, you have different types of individuals, but yet their quality never gets questioned. You get what I'm saying? So can we move on to the next question? Oh, you good? All right. So the next question is, did your parents make it an environment to feel safe to come out? So I'm gonna start off with Michauli. Let's go. I'll mute myself.
I'm gonna go with no. More so, and shout out to my mama. Love you, girl, but we gonna keep it real up in there. But it was more so like, well, not even more so my mom, but just my family in general. Once I came out as gay, it wasn't as a big issue because you have a lot of people who are homophobic and talk a lot of stuff about gay people until somebody that they love is gay. Now it's like, oh, well, damn. Well, now that's my child, or that's my grandson, or that's my nephew. So now I gotta, try to open up a little bit more. But even as a child, and that's why I'm so big on telling parents, you have to be very conscious of what you say. Because, when I was younger, it would be certain family members. It was, oh, these faggots this, oh, this punk this, my grandmother, and I bring this up to her, and to this day, she says she doesn't say it. But I'm told, I'm like, I remember what you said because I remember how it made me feel. I was in the 9th grade, and we were on our way to Houston to go see an aunt or some shit like that. And she said, I want you to promise me that you'll never be gay. I can't stand gay men. And me, I'm like, oh, I promise this, that, and the third. But deep down, it hurt me so bad because I'm just in my mind like, oh, wow, like I can't even be my most authentic self in front of the people who I thought loved me the most. And I think it's sad that, you have parents that, oh, I don't do, my kids ain't finna be gay. My kids ain't finna be. Let me tell you something. I can't speak on everybody else's kids, but I know as of my kids, I want to have a relationship with my kids. I want my kids to know that they can be authentic. The reason why parents mess up so much is your home is where you're supposed to be your most authentic self. Now, I can't change the whole world. I can't tell the school, when you go to school, that's out of my ball game. When you go hang out with your friends, that's out of my lane. But when you're at home, I want you to be authentic. You can be yourself. And I think that as parents, they miss out on that part. So for me, it's going to be a hard no, because it's just, nah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. You brought up some very good points there, Mick. I feel like, you know what? And I've known parents that would rather have, and they're usually Christians. And if you guys are Christian, I apologize, but I hold nothing back. You know what I'm saying? So we know that Christianity is a lie. It's designed for control purposes. In any case, there are parents that would rather their child be a rapist, a pedophile. They would rather them be a murderer, you know what I mean? But don't be gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, really? So when does being gay, participating in a same-sex relationship where both parties are consensual and of age, you know what I'm saying, a bad thing in comparison to being a serial raper? These are all concepts of white supremacy. We understand that prior to that, our African ancestors, we did not hold, we don't look for reasons to hate one another. We don't look for reasons to hurt one another. In fact, if you're different, hey, you know what? What can you do different than me that could maybe help me, and vice versa? You know what I mean? Let's do what we're doing today, have a nice conversation. We don't need to insult or degrade or belittle anyone. We need to understand each other. We need to love each other and come together in that type of a circle where the love is returned and we are returned to who we're supposed to be, and not this garbage that this whitewashed society has turned many of us into, particularly with inventions like Christianity, where, you know, white Jesus says that being gay is bad in the Bible. Well, you know what? There was a slave version of the Bible. You know what I mean? Does that mean that that version of the Bible is accurate? No, it does not. You know what I mean? Does that mean that these are things that parents should really dictate their lives and cast out their children? Let me tell you a personal story. So I used to go to school with this young girl. She was about, so we were in college, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there, probably like 20s or something. Uh, she came out to her mother when she was 16. Her mother had her committed into an asylum because for a long time and intermittently now, homosexuality is a treatable mental disease. Exactly. This is disgusting. And it's also, I mean, so this poor girl was locked up for 2 years against her will, all because she trusted her mother enough to say, you know, if there's one person you should be able to trust, it should be your mother. You know what I'm saying? Fortunately, my mom was very cool. Like I told you, she already knew from an early age that I was going to turn out to be gay. My dad was not. He's an asshole, but he's an asshole on a whole other level. And he's a very big Jesus freak, you know, and he even believes in, you know, it's funny to me. You see him, this big old 6'4" black guy, talking about, well, white Jesus is going to come and save me. Oh, really? Okay, that's great. He told me that he felt like he did something wrong in my conception. That was very hurtful. And I'm like, well, what do you think you did wrong in your conception? And before you answer that question, let's evaluate my father. He's a womanizer. He beats women. He cheats on women. I mean, there have been some instances where I've heard that he has had sex with, at younger times, with underage women. Little, you know what I mean? So let's discuss some things here. You're going to tell me that you did something wrong with me, but you're unable to look at yourself and say, well, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? Maybe he's not gay, but he's lived, in my opinion, a far worse life than being gay. You know what I mean? Because for the most part, your average gay guy is relatively honest. You know what I mean? Like you have hoes everywhere. You know what I mean? That's just the bottom line. And particularly in this society, because like I told you, there are no more morals left. The oppressor is not born from a place where morality is important. They come from caves. Survival is important. Morality is not. So for black folks to turn their back on, you know what I mean? I've known guys that got kicked out of their homes, you know, and so then now you're forcing this man or this guy to live a life of dishonesty. So in order to have a place to stay, his parents need to think that he's straight. So he's having sex with women, having sex with men. Now, and you know the introduction of, like I told you, HIV and AIDS came out when I was a brand new kid. I was just born around that time. But it was all governmental, just like COVID. They built it in a laboratory and they put it off on particularly Black gays because the government has always had an agenda to genocide our people and our community, particularly because they feel like they are the gods and goddesses, and we are not. when in fact we are and they are not. They just don't want to actually live that lifestyle. But anyways, I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there. Just letting you know that I feel like I really wish our community was, and particularly parents, because when your son or daughter comes out to you, they are looking to you for a love that nobody else is going to give them. You know what I mean? Like, if you deny them that love, the rest of the world is going to shit in their face. Not everybody likes that. I know some people do like that shit, but not everybody. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, okay, I'm done. Sorry.
Lord, boy, you went off, especially when you start talking about your daddy. I ain't gonna flex for a second. I was like, let me mute him. I want him to you was going in, player. Oh my God. But to answer the question directly, for me personally, no, I do agree with both you guys. No, there was not a safe environment for me to feel like I can come out. My mother, she wasn't a homophobe to the point of she may hurt, kill, or verbally abuse gays or something like that. But there's a situation where we finally had the conversation. I told her I was gay or whatever, even though I felt like she already knew, but I digress. Finally told her, and she was like, after the other things went on, eventually down the line of the conversation is, why didn't you tell me? I said, you got to realize this. With those little conversations that we have, inside the room, and like folk to the point of you may hurt or kill LGBT folk. But however, when there's a gay scene that come on TV or something happens that we see gay people, or eye roll and stuff. And she's like, why did you tell me? Or you gave up? Because here's the thing, people love to give opinions, harsh perspectives and stuff like that. But guess what? When you made those harsh opinions and perspective, guess who was listening? I was listening. So my question is, why would I tell you, knowing how you already feel about certain people or certain people like me? And the thing is, I tell people all the time, is that it's funny that we hate, society hates DL men, but yet we seem to condition and breed them every single day. We hate that these men are not telling the truth, but yet you're conditioning them to not be honest or giving them a safe space to be honest. That's like me saying, I want you to be honest with me. I want you to tell me what your true sexual attractions are. But then when the person tells those attractions are, you greet them with homophobia. And the thing is about it, DL culture is a direct side effect of homophobia. So that's not going to work. And it was something else that you mentioned. That was you, Jaleel. You was like, they talk about gay people until they found out that you were gay. And that's the thing I be telling people is that I'm gonna put this up, this banner, I gotta put it up. This is the thing, is that some people have these ideas, perspectives on gay people, but then when they find their brother is gay or somebody real close to them gay, then they want to be all protective. And I will say this because people think just having gay relatives and accepting them means you're not homophobic. You have to realize this thing called being gay under conditions and being gay by contract, which means that you, as in me, you, Jaleel, may be accepted to them and only by them. But however, them interacting with other gay people, that may not happen. Them accepting other gay people may not happen. You get what I'm saying? Hopefully I worded that right. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. Yeah, it was not a safe space, and stuff like that. So are we ready to move on to the next questions? Oh, no. All right. I'm going to let y'all speak. All right. So I saw Jaleel first.
So I also want to add that so these are for all the LGBT, the people that are in the closet, please understand that if you are not comfortable with coming out, because in a lot of situations, especially with people that look like us, a lot of those results can end negatively. So if you have now, they do have some people that they have to come out because it's like they just have to. But if you're one of those people that feel like I can wait a little longer, till I go to college or till I'm 18 and this, that, and the third, don't feel bad about that. Straight people don't have to come out. If your family or your loved ones say that they love you, it shouldn't matter who you sleep with. You don't. Oh, I came out. I told my family. I told my grandparents. I told my mom. I told them I was gay because I was ready and because I wanted to. You don't have to tell them shit. I had to tell that to my grandmother because the first time I lied to her when she asked me, then when I was comfortable and I was ready and I told her the first thing was, well, why didn't you tell me? Why did you lie to me? Because I wasn't ready to tell you. And then she was, but I'm your grandmother and I loved you and this, that, and the third. Well, girl, clearly I wasn't comfortable to tell you. I have to tell you shit to begin with. So please remember, you don't have to tell them shit. You don't got to tell them a damn thing. If you want to live your life and wait till you independent and you're in an area where you're more comfortable, never feel bad about that. So that's all I want to say.
You have something to say, Bung? Oh.
The sad part there is, I relate that to most of the adults in this society being narcissistic. So they're going to say to you, well, why didn't you tell me? But they've never done a self-analysis to make sure that their behavior is coming across in a way that would make somebody feel comfortable to tell them. So if you are making comments that are belittling to my community, I'm not going to tell you that. Why would I? You know what I mean? So when they say, I don't fully understand that. My dad was pissed. He was like, well, what did I do wrong? All this other shit. And I'm like, well, what the fuck did your dad do wrong? You're a goddamn womanizer. You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to hate on me? You're really? Yes. And that motherfucker, to this day, he still believes there's something wrong with me. Hey, that's fine. You know what I mean? They live in Pennsylvania. I live in Texas quite comfortably. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I believe that when we embark on this gay journey, and correct me if you guys feel differently, but we know inherently that this is probably going to be a lonely journey. But it will be one that we don't have to lie to ourselves, and we can have a peace of mind. I can go to sleep at night and be like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be a gay guy. You know what I mean? Instead of pretending to be something. And I could, most gay, even DL guys, you really can kind of tell. I mean, especially like if you have gaydar and stuff, other gay guys. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? But it should not have to ever be that way. And there was a huge thing. There was a lot of, like, back in the 90s, there was a lot of sexing. Of course, I'm sure it's the same way now, but then there was a lot of sex in gay clubs. So of course, religious people and other parents and stuff were like, well, why are they having sex in the clubs and all this stuff? Well, because you're homophobic and you don't want to see it in your home. You know what I mean? Where else are we going to go? You've turned our lifestyle into taboo, and then you want to throw it in our face because we will make alternate arrangements to handle what we need to handle. You understand what I'm saying? That is the problem. This all comes from colonizers. They don't want us to be black. If you are in a room of all white people, as long as you are one of them phony baloney, coony kind of white acting black dudes, they're not going to pay you no mind. But come in with some dreadlocks and I wear a pendant that's got a big African warrior's face on it, come in like that. Now they're afraid. Well, you wouldn't be afraid if I was talking like Dawn over there, but suddenly, because I have a representation of myself, you're afraid. Why are you afraid? Because I know who I am and I still love myself. Okay.
Now, I'm glad that you went again, Bongani, because it was something else I meant to mention, but I don't think I ever got the chance to mention it. It's the whole idea of something is wrong. What did they do wrong? Because that's what some people I know said to me. It was like, did I do something wrong? And I had to let the person know, no, you did nothing wrong. People have to get out of this idea that every time, quote unquote, someone's gay or LGBT, queer community, they think something went wrong, some type of trauma happened. That's not always the case. We're probably gonna get into that a little bit later, but so we're good to go to the next question. Oh, you're all good. You're all good. All right. So, all right. The next question is, let me see. Okay. Did the church make you feel safe to come out? And once you actually got the courage to come out, did people's attitudes change towards you? So I'm gonna start with Bongani.
Can you repeat the first part of the question, please? Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first part of the question is, did the church make you feel safe to come out? Should I continue?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I'm good.
I
Okay.
got it. Um, So I have never really been what you would consider a religious person. My mom tried to be, but she was a single mom with 3 kids and she worked 2 jobs. So church was not necessarily a place that we went to. I did go to a Catholic high school, and that was an absolute nightmare. And I did not feel safe there because their God is very judgmental, very angry, and always trying to persecute. But meanwhile, these very same priests that are saying, well, being gay is bad, are raping children. This is just like Islam. I am not attacking Islam because I know that that's a big thing. I'm not attacking them. What I'm saying is there's hypocrisy because on one end, and I'm not comparing pedophiles to gay guys. This is not the case. But you have the homosexual behaviors there. So when you have pedophilia, you have a heterosexually biased pedophile or a homosexually biased pedophile. It does not mean a pedophile is a gay guy or a gay woman. You know what I mean? They are different, always different. But the classification of their sexual preferences is there. Homosexuality is not defined by age or it's just simply saying you have affairs with somebody of the same gender. That's all that it means. You know what I mean? So as homosexuals, we need to understand that homosexuality is all these. It's just not defined the way. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's not defined the way that we may have thought that it would be defined. You know what I mean? So the interesting thing that I found was that the uh, the incidents of priests raping children. And I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. It's about maybe 200,000 people. I don't know. I'm not sure how many churches exactly, but the overall Catholic diocese that was like the organization that funded all of these Catholic places, they went bankrupt because they were paying for the litigation for these goddamn priests raping children. Meanwhile, the hypocrisy is they're against gay people. Well, we have many hypocrisies like that in the Black community. So, I don't like to look for deficits in our community, certainly. But if I do find them, I will bring them to light. I've known a lot of my friends, my Black friends will say, that they were molested or they were raped by their father. You understand what I'm telling you? So here's this father that is saying, well, don't be gay, but meanwhile, he's raping his children. I knew an uncle that tied his children to the tree to rape them. Right, right. You have to understand how deep when you look at Africans, our ancestors, before colonization, they were very peaceful, very loving. Concepts of hate, they didn't exist. If there was a war, usually it was solved by the heads of that village would get together. Let's smoke a little weed. Let's talk this out. Before we gotta bleed, let's talk. Let's get to know each other. Let's get to understand how we can compromise. You understand what I'm saying? So but now it's not that way. Now it's like you're gay and you're wrong and you're this terrible person and everybody, you know what I mean? So, and churches are behind that because the church is actually, when colonization first occurred, it didn't occur by guns. It occurred by a Bible and Christian missionaries that taught our ancestors to go against African spirituality where we loved one another, and more importantly, we loved ourselves. Because if you self-love, there's nothing else you got to worry about, because everything else falls into play. But in order for these whites to do what they were going to do to Africa, they had to convince Africans that their God, their white Jesus, was going to save them from our afflictions, when the truth couldn't have been farther from the truth. But the problem now is the church is so indoctrinated in lies and deceit that when you try to bring these concepts up to Christians, they literally are like, "Oh my God, I'm banishing you to hell. My Jesus is gonna come and get you. You're blasphemy," and all this stuff. And it's like, now wait a minute. So you're gonna tell me that you're basing your core belief system on an idea that you can't even ask questions about, because they'll say, "Well, just have faith." Well, if you're like me, having faith isn't enough. I need some documentation. I need some proof. Okay. I need to see some pyramids. Our ancestors built pyramids. What did European ancestors do besides commit the worst atrocities? My point there is, brothers, that the way Black people are now is not who we are. It's after 500 years of rape and sodomy and pedophilia and some of the worst things. I won't even speak them out loud. They are so bad. I won't speak them out loud. You can read about them, but I will not say them. Oh, all right, I'm done. Sorry.
Good. Okay, so I personally do not think the church has made it comfortable. I feel like ever since I've been in church, you know, and especially when you have a queen like me that walks in, it's always, "Oh, I'm tired of y'all punks, and I'm tired of y'all sissies, and this, that, and the third." And this is where I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, you know what, like, I really don't have to deal with this shit. And now I consider myself a Christian, but I'm a lot more spiritual. I'm not one of those religious. I don't go to church because I don't got time for that, because y'all hoes be dressing real tight with these Star Wars 2.0 Hunger Games ass outfits. Y'all be looking a hot ass mess. And every time y'all want to come up and I go up in there, y'all want to talk about gays. Meanwhile, when the pastor is done preaching, he's sliding up in my DMs talking about he's hungry, he needs something to eat. But we're not going to get into that. It just kind of blows my mind to see that people of the church, they always have the nerve to want to bring up the Bible and talk about people. But little do they know, did white people not bring up the Bible to put y'all in slavery? Did white people not bring up the Bible to keep y'all oppressed? To this day, the reason people voted for Donald Trump is to bring up it. They literally brought up the Bible to bring that up. So for you to bring that against me, it's just like, and it's not all of them, but for you to bring that against me, it's like some of y'all hoes are really like stupid in the mind. Because let me tell you something, I don't give a damn. I will cuss a bitch in the church. I will cuss a bitch outside the church. Pastor involved, and that fat neck ass first lady ass too. Because you know what? It's always first lady that always got something to say. I'll get on her scrubby thigh ass too, because I'm getting tired of all these people up in church always want to talk about what somebody else doing. Bitch, worry about what the hell y'all got going on. Talking about y'all punks and faggots. Okay, it's always these punks and faggots who's doing first lady's makeup, that tied ass them stockings that she be having on. Somebody got to put that on them that cankle ass bitch. Somebody got to put it on. Who is it? The gays. When y'all need somebody to play the piano, who y'all calling? The gays. When y'all need an usher, who y'all calling? The gays. So if you think you're going to call me a punk and a faggot, in the meantime, I'm going to give you a coin. No, when they give me that collection plate, I pass it right to the next. Don't get that to me. Because you're not going to, like, it's just one of those things where it makes no sense. And I be having to tell that some of my family members, well, I'm just doing what God said. I'm just doing what God said. God ain't tell you that shit. God told you to mind your business and worry about you. Because they love to talk about the gays, but it's all fun and games until the gays. Because I tell Christians this all the time. What y'all don't want, because every time we go to church or every time it's a conversation, you got people like Kim Burrell who always want to talk about gays and this, that, and the third. But it's all fun and games until the faggots and the sissies and the trannies and the bull daggers, it's all fun and games until we start going up in them churches and start reading them hoes fulfilled. it's all fun and games then. So they can play it all they want. It's all fun and games because I could take the whole church alone. Give me about 4 more queens. We will go in there and read the whole church down. So I've been trying to tell them girls up in church, keep it cute. Now, like I said, I'm a Christian. I'm just on the spiritual side. All that church and all of that, because I'll read a bitch down. I don't have that time. You so worried about me, you need to be worried about why your son and your stepdaddy out here jacking off the gay porn. Why you worried about me and me being free and doing me? I don't like that. I'm sorry, I got a little ratchet, but I'm done.
Oh, this is gonna be a fun behind panel. I can already tell. All right, so what was the question? Oh yeah, so the church. No, it did for me. Of course, no, it didn't. It didn't help. But actually, there was one incident that I can remember off the top of my head where there was she was like a superintendent's wife, and she was basically talking crap about gays, but it wasn't coming from a standpoint of I want these people to be better because it says this quote unquote in the Bible, but yet I want them to be better. It came from a point of I don't like you guys are sick. It came from I would say more of a hatred type of place. And so no, the church did not help. And once I actually got the church to come out, people's attitudes, I'm gonna say at least not to my face. No, because I felt like people already knew, but at the same time, it's like once I got the courage to come out and actually I kind of had this I don't give a fuck attitude after a while. Like I kind of didn't care as long as you didn't disrespect me to my face or behind my back, then we were good. Because I just had this, I just didn't care. But I am gonna touch on this, touch up on it, and I don't think you got any more questions that's gonna get back to it. Let me just read religion down real quick. Here's my thing with religion. Now I'm giving you a little backstory. I was heavily involved in the church, Christianity and stuff like that. Ended up leaving. And the thing is, whenever I tell people that they have this idea, they be like, oh, you're mad at God. I'm like, no, I'm not mad at God. I left religion. I didn't leave God. There's a difference. And I tell people that. And went on my whole little journey. And I remember I was in a sex ed class. It was like a gender class, whatever. And I'm telling you this just so you can know what type of mental bondage I was in. And I hate to use that for people that are Christians and I feel like that's triggering words for them, but I'm just my experience, mental bondage that I was in, because the stuff I said, I would never say that shit now, not never. So I was in a class and the lady, the teacher, the professor, she was like, hey, this is the class, yada, 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 introduce yourself. Everybody was my name, this is my major, yada. So it got to me. I said, hey, hello, my name is Stephon. I'm 20 years old. I think it was 21, 22, but 21, 20 years old. I'm such and such years old. I'm in this class because I want to know what is wrong with me. And knowing me now, I would never say nothing like that. Never. But however, since I was so brought up in the church and I was so, quote unquote, I was going against God and stuff, I just thought something was wrong with me. And I'm like, no. So after the professor said to me, she was like, nothing's wrong with you. And then she kind of brought me back in and said, nothing's wrong with you. And then we had a little talk, and then that was that. But yeah, there was no. But I do want to read religion now because there was an incident where Summer Walker, she had an altar, or whatever. People were saying, "Oh, she's a witch. She's this. She's that." Yeah. And even my friend that also does like she's into spirituality. She does like talking to the ancestors and stuff. They call her witches and stuff. They're so quick to demean and demonize her. But here's the thing. I find it so funny how we like to demonize people that participate in witchery. We go to every first Sunday, we have communion. We have communion, and let's not forget there's an altar in the church. But the thing about it, and this is the thing I told myself too, because I have a job, and typically with my job is a lot of people from the islands. So I had to get in this mindset too, is that just because it's voodoo doesn't mean it's always bad. That's the thing. You have to ask. It depends the person. It depends on what they're using it for. Same thing with religion. Some people use it for good. Some people use it for bad. But however, it's all about how the person uses and decides what they want to do with it. So they're talking about, oh, it's witchery, this, that, and the third. For me personally, I don't feel like Christianity religion-wise, is for Black people. Because, be quite honest, just like Bongani said, is that it teaches us to hate everything about African culture. Because guess what? Voodoo and all the other things, that came from Africa. And that's the thing. We're so quick to demonize and be like, no, 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 no. But yet, if you think about it, in religion, we're doing a lot of those things. Like the same thing, like to say, and think about it. I was having a conversation with my friend Conscious TV, and we were just talking about it. And he was bringing a lot of things to light. He was like, I find it so funny that we like to demonize witches and stuff, but yet in church, we like to pray and stuff, but then don't realize that's you manifesting. You're manifesting. That's the law of attraction. And then he said, I find it so funny how we like to demonize sorcerers and stuff like that, but don't you got a pharmacy? That's medicine or sorcerer. I can never say that name right, that word right. But it's a lot of things that I feel like we do in religion that has taught us as Black people to hate our culture indirectly. So is that all that everybody wanted to say, or you want? Okay, well, okay. I'm gonna start with, because last time I started with Michauli. I'm gonna start with Bongani right now.
Okay. You brought up some excellent points there that I would definitely like to touch on a little bit. The first one is that so there was a time, I'm not sure if you guys remember, I'm sure you would though, when parents were sending their teenage boys to camps where their gay teenage boys to these camps where they would turn them into heterosexuals. What those camps turned out to be was a pedophile's dream, and all of them little boys were being raped. So we have a duality here. We live in illusion, or we accept reality and begin to move forward in a progressive manner. So, and the thing about, when you're thinking of a pastor's wife, particularly in a Black church, the first wife, first lady or something, I don't know. She's all like usually I find her to be stuck up. I find her to be judgmental. All of the things that you would think a practitioner of this religion would not be. But here's what we need to understand. We're talking about a religion. Let's talk about Christianity. And they are literally, symbolically drinking the blood of a human and drinking and eating the flesh of a human. Now, I've asked many people, particularly Christians, hey, when in history has it ever been okay to eat people? Now, the answer I usually get is, well, it's symbolic. I don't give a fuck. You're pretending to eat a person. What do you mean it's symbolic? Again, they don't understand that because they've been indoctrinated with lies and with deceit. Keep in mind, the whole purpose of religion was to control the slaves, because if you control a slave's mind, you don't got to control their body. You know what I mean? You've already got their mind. The rest, it goes, you know what I mean? So it's like they don't look at the actuality. The pastor's wife doesn't see her husband sleeping with all of the female and potentially some male, you know what I mean, parishioners in their church. But she would say, well, being gay is bad. Oh, but your husband committing adultery, which is one of the 10 commandments, is not bad, or it's suddenly excusable? Well, now, wait a minute. That sounds like the double standard that white people put on Black people that says, well, we can do it, but if you do it, we'll shoot you in the back. We'll shoot your children in the back. We'll lynch you from a tree. So what we're understanding is the mentality of the oppressive force has no logic. It is not based on intelligence. It is not based on tolerance. It is not based on love. You know what I mean? It is simply based on fear. Fear of the unknown, but fear of not willing to try to get to know. I would come across some females, and if they were like, well, I don't like gay people or whatever, and I'm like, girl, you need you a gay best friend. And let me tell you why. A, he's going to look out for you if you're at a party and you are passed out. He ain't gonna let you get raped by every goddamn dude up in there. But that's not all. We also are the type that, hey, if you need emotional support, we are there for you. Okay. We'll also know if your husband is getting it, if he's getting that ass, you know what I mean? On the DL, we're gonna know. So what they don't understand about us is what they've never even tried to learn about us. The same is very true when it comes to the colonizers and Africans. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I have there. Okay, sorry.
Wait, before you go, Michauli, I want to say this one little thing before you go, because I do not want to. And I find it so funny how people like to say about, I believe like Bongani said spells and stuff, but yet don't we put olive oil on our forehead and stuff like that? Those also called rituals and spells and stuff, you know. And that's the thing I be trying to tell people when I bring it to other people's attention. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. I'd be like, yes, I am. But okay, so I'm gonna let Michauli go.
That's what I was about to touch on the most, because and the reason why, and this is why a lot of times I really step away from the church, because it's like when you step out and realize what's going on, it's almost like y'all look so dumb. Because my thing is, you baptize people in pools and lakes, you put olive oil on people, you drink the blood of Jesus, you get on your knees and pray. But for spiritual people who manifest and we write things down, or we take love spell baths, now we're witches and something is wrong. You literally did the same fucking thing in another way. You did the same thing, just the white version. And they like to, it's a lot of voodoo going on. Let me tell you something. Voodoo was used in a lot of great ways. Voodoo was actually something that slaves used to help get back at the slave master, in a lot of ways to help escape. But because white people, and it's not all white people, I love all y'all, but right, it's not everybody. But because white people have conditioned, black people that this is how it's supposed to go. Anything outside or altered or different from that, it's wrong. It puts so much fear in them when realistically they did the exact same thing. And even we don't even have to say Christianity. We could talk Buddhist or Islam or Muslim. It's all realistically the same thing. It's all the same thing. Like, I don't have to, like, I'm not going to talk about somebody who's, oh, well, us Christians here and Buddhists up there getting on their knees and praying to this person, praying to this person. When you put all the Bible, whatever they call their Bible, when you put it all together, it's pretty much the same shit. But I find it funny that the Chinese people got their God, but, white people got their God. But I find it funny that black people, African Americans, we don't have when I go to church, I don't see no black man up there. I don't see no black women. I don't see no black woman up there. But you'll be so quick to take something that was taught to you and use it against us. And at the very least, and another thing that pisses me off about the church, more importantly, I feel like what makes them so dumb is like, y'all have the opportunity to, I know so many LGBT people who literally are like, I would love to go to church. I'm just not comfortable. If I had a church that was just welcoming, and because let's be clear, this is a money thing at the end of the day, and that's no shade. This is all about money. You will be missing out on so much money and people that actually want to have a closer relationship to their higher power. But you're so dumb to realize that, because you're just so stuck on the gays are doing this and the gays trying to take over the church. Girl, the gays ain't taking over the church. The gays took over the church in the 70s, boo. They done that already. Talking about the gays trying to take, baby, that's a done deal. Your pastor out here fucking niggas. Like, that's all I gotta say.
This panel is gonna be awesome. All right, so I believe that's all we had to say. All right, so the next question is, what is the origin of intolerance, hatred, and /or ignorance?
Intolerance to me and ignorance, it kind of all ties into the same thing. So there's this thing called I like to call cognitive dissonance, which pretty much means I can tell you the facts. I can tell you what this means. I could tell you what something really is. But at the end of the day, regardless of what I tell you, you kind of already got your mind made up. Like most Christians, they love to say, oh, well, the gays are spreading HIV and the gays are going to die and this, that, and the third. And I could say, no, we're not. First of all, it's 2020. Gay people aren't dying from HIV and AIDS anymore. We're in a whole nother era. I could show them a map. I could show them a graph that shows that you have a lot of LGBT people who are successful, getting their degrees, have two dads, two moms, raising successful children. I could tell them all of these things about gay people, but they just have their mind so made up that regardless of what I say, even though it makes sense, they just don't want to hear it. Prime example, my grandmother. Oh, I love my grandmother to death. But girl, I be having to get her together. Because me and her had a conversation where she was like, well, I believe in Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. I said, so you're going to let two people talk for 2 billion people who are portrayed to be white, who you don't know, and you're going to take that for what it is? And more importantly, if Eve or Adam or whoever the hell didn't bite the apple in the first place, we wouldn't be in this predicament to begin with. So don't you think that's their fault and not ours? Oh, I don't want to have this conversation. I bet you don't. I bet you don't. Like, it's just stuff like that. Like, or they like to do the Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, it was gay men having sex. That's why he burned it down. No. Jesus already planned on burning that bitch down from the jump. And back in the day, raping men was a sense of power. It didn't necessarily mean that they were attracted to men. They would break into a family house and they would rape them in front of their wives to show the wives, this is my bitch. Like, he can do whatever I want. But they don't.
Wait. I want to say this real quick. Is that is another reason why men get raped in jail. It's a sense of not because they're sexually attracted to the man all the time, but because they doing sense of power, as in, since you're in my cell, you're gonna be my bitch. So just keep that in mind. That's what I'm letting me know. All right, so I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, so absolutely, it's that whole sense of it was gay men doing that. That's not the case. If you want to be real, King James was gay, aka the King James version of the Bible, the one that the majority of black people like to read. Yeah, he was kind of fucking niggas. I don't know if you knew that or not. But when you start telling people those things, or you start to have that conversation, then it's on some like, oh, well, I'm not trying to hear it. Oh, and they love, and especially when it comes to ignorant and intolerant people, it's always, oh, you're of the world. Oh, y'all are of the world. Girl, we all live in the world. The church was made by people of the world. What the fuck are you talking about? You sound stupid. Everybody's of the world, and you think you're not a part of that? Those cars that you drive, those weren't made by Christians. That phone that you talk shit on wasn't made by Christians. Them clothes that you wore weren't made by. Half of them clothes you wore was worn by white queens. And let's be clear, white gays and black gays live totally two different lives, because white racist gays are the worst ones. But you want to tell me about what your good book say, and then when you tell them the real shit, when you tell them what it's really about, now all of a sudden it's you're of the world, or they do that passive aggressive bullshit like, well, you have to answer to God. Okay, bitch, the same way I got to answer to God for being gay, the same way you got to answer to God for running your mouth, being all up in my ass about what the fuck I'm doing. And I'm done.
All right. So the next question. Oh wait, that was Bongani, right? That was Bongani. There we go. I'm all over the place. Forgive me.
Oh no, it's all good. And no worries. It's a very passionate subject, you know what I mean? And for those that are knowledgeable in it, there's a lot of different avenues, of course, that can be explored. I do want to touch on a little bit about the HIV and AIDS. What we do know is that that was literally created in a government laboratory, and it was first put in the smallpox vaccine distributed into countries throughout Africa first, and then it came over to San Francisco is where it touched base here. But what we also know is that people were not dying from AIDS. People were dying from the medication, the pharmacy, and the doctors were prescribing to them for this condition because in nature, I mean, anyways, it just wasn't what we all were taught to believe that it was. You know what I mean? And at all times, this world, this society is not in our favor. I did want to say that, you know, I do hear church people say that about Adam and Eve. And my question to them is, so now let's talk about genetics. Let's talk about logic. But the problem is when you have somebody that's indoctrinated with lies, they don't want to learn better. They don't want to do better. They want to remain ignorant. And that's fine. That's their choice. But let's talk about logic here and genetics. You would take Adam and Eve. Now, number one, why would Eve have to be the bad one to eat the fruit? Because of the two genders, really, the more curious of us are the men. Who's gonna go and venture out and do some shit? It's not the woman. She's chilling. You know what I mean? She's like, I'm gonna peek this from here. Whatever you got, you know what I mean? The man is more likely, anyways. So that story automatically for me was based in lies because it held the woman as the weaker gender, and she is not the weaker gender. If she can survive with a baby in her belly for 9 months, she is not the weaker gender. Anyways, so logically speaking, we're gonna have Adam and Eve, and they're gonna procreate, and so then their children are gonna fuck them and their children. You know what I mean? So that's how we're gonna get a species of people. Is from two people. The logic, the genetic ability is not there because anytime you have inbreeding, those the genotypes that would kill a particular species, they are more likely to occur. So that's why when you have inbreeding, they're more likely to be physically or mentally retarded. And I use retarded not to be mean, but just as I don't know, whatever. But anyways, so they're more likely to be, retarded in that respect because of the genome. You need variety. When you are making children, you need variety. That's what the basis of our planet is. So to think anything differently literally goes in the opposite direction of what the truth is. But when we understand one of the ideas of the oppressive force is anti-Africanism. So anything opposite of us is them. Period. You understand that? Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on just real quickly is that what Christianity and other Islam, other religions don't teach is the individual to love yourself first and know that as Africans, we are gods and goddesses. We are gods and goddesses in human form. This is it's undeniable in the world of Africa. And in America, well, Jesus is God. Well, that's not true. And they have absolutely no empirical evidence to prove that there was a black Jesus, but there was never a white Jesus. And the whole Christianity story is based off a Kemetic religion, actually. Anyways, I'm done there. Okay.
All right, you better get the teaching. All righty. What was I? The origin of intolerance, hatred, and ignorance. I'm gonna say that I kind of agree with both you guys. I think it came from colonization. But from what I've heard, research, I wasn't there. But from what I heard and research and stuff like that, it came from colonization. From what I understand, that Africans, we were very loving, we were very I don't want to say tolerant of each other. We accepted each other. We were able to live peaceful, but then things took a turn. African Americans kind of took a turn as well because of the conditioning and stuff like that. All right, all that we're going to say on this question. We're going to move on. Oh, wait, one more.
Just really quickly. So we can see the difference between. So if anybody was to say, well, I don't believe you. I believe that homosexuality came with colonization. Here's the thing. Or excuse me, not that. To say that Africans or blacks are anything other than loving. Here's my point. Or here's my point to that. So you literally have cops murdering our brothers and sisters in the street. And most of us are like, you know what? We still love you. We're still trying to work it out. We're not trying to wage a war. And if you look at our history and you look at the overall behavior of black folks, now I mean, because they're, like I said, with colonization, things changed. But you just look at the overall, your average black person is not trying to go out there and hurt anybody. You know what I mean? And they're not going out there to target white people just because we don't like them. Well, no, we don't like them, but we are the dominant. We are gods and goddesses. So when we walk on earth, we don't walk like, oh, we're afraid of everything, or we don't understand anything. We walk like this planet we built. Understand? Because we did. Okay, we built this planet, y'all. Understand that. Okay, I'm done now. Sorry.
Well, I will say this. This is a panel full of different opinions, perspectives. Do not be trying to go in these comment sections. If people comment, don't be trying to tear us up because, hey, it is what it is. All right. The next question, we kind of touched on this, but is homosexuality a result of colonization or did it exist in Africa? I'm going to start with Michauli.
I necessarily think to me, I feel like when it comes to homosexuality, I just think it's just, to me, sexuality is a very wide spectrum. So, I mean, I guess I would go with the thing that it came from Africa. I think it was more so just like, you are who you are. Like, if 100 people are in a room, at least 15 of them are going to be gay. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's just who you are. And I feel like the whole colonization thing and they're telling us not to do this, it's like you're literally telling people to not be who they are, because realistically, you have a lot, and this is where the whole like down low situation comes in, because you have so many men who are gay and they know that they're gay, but because of colonization and because the way that they're conditioned, it's almost like they're being somebody else, but at the end of the day, they're still gay. So for them to try to, have this narrative of, oh, there's this gay agenda, or there's this thing that, gays are just this boring thing, and gays are created from social media and the devil created gay. It's just like, no, I mean, we just like the same sex. Like, it's just, I think Christians, they and I hate saying Christians, but that's just based off of my experience. But you have homophobic people who just like, they try to make it so surface. They try to make it so deep when it's really just very surface level. Like, I'm the same like you. You have feminine boys who are straight. You have masculine men who are gay. Me saying I'm gay is simply, I just like the same sex. It's nothing nasty about it. It's nothing weird. It's nothing that, Katy Perry didn't put a needle in my arm that made me a different person. I mean, that's just what it just is what it is. So that's my take on it.
Okay. So there's a couple of points there I would like to talk about. Most important of which, there are literally hieroglyphics. So when somebody says to me, well, hieroglyphics are a lie, or it's a picture of a fantasy, I give them a rock and a butter knife, and I say, go ahead and carve one of your initials in this rock. You tell me how difficult that is. Now, usually the person is like, they're narcissistic, so they don't want to do better. They want to believe ignorance. But the point is, our ancestors are not going to depict pictures of homosexual relations in solid rock that are fantasy. You understand what I'm saying? Hieroglyphics date back farther than any known white society. So when we understand that homosexuality is a mutation of our genome. Now, not all mutations are usually employed by nature for progression. I have not fully figured out our necessarily, but I think we have a lot of purposes actually, because when you can live outside of the realm of what the socially accepted norm of male behavior is, you have opened up doors to creativity, to art, to a host of different things. Choreography. Let's be honest. If you look at choreography in the 70s, they ain't got shit on these motherfuckers today. And I put that on Instagram. I'm like, you know what? Gay men rewrote what choreography is. We read, not me. I really can't dance that well, but our gay brothers rewrote what choreography is. So our purpose, our necessity has been there. Nature made us who we are. And nature, as far as I know and what I've learned, is not wrong. You know what I mean? Even in the case of the mutation to whites, they are a recessive gene. They were created to survive a very harsh situation. I'm not comparing the two mutations outside of saying mutations occur in nature. You know what I mean? And just because that occurs, it doesn't necessarily mean we need to be so intolerant towards that, especially considering if a lot of the Black people here, especially those that go to church, would do research on African spirituality, they would learn about people like King Mwapa, who was a bisexual, homosexual king. And when the British got there, they said that this man was terrible. I mean, he had a whole kingdom, and it was beautiful. There was no war, there was no drama. Everybody loved one another. They got along. They lived in harmony with the environment. Well, the British couldn't handle that. How could these beautiful people live within their environment? Let's find a reason to hate them. Let's find a reason to make them feel less than. The other part of that is, it's a common myth that gay guys are somehow less than straight guys. Now, let me explain some things. I've done 8 years in the military. Well, they said gay guys couldn't do that because we're too soft. Well, I did it. And there are many other gay guys that have done that. You know what I mean? Like, just because we're gay, don't get it twisted. We are still a man, okay? We will still whoop that ass. Don't play. And I know gay guys that when I see them scrap, I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, because we had to. You know what I mean? Straight guys didn't necessarily have to protect themselves the way our gay brothers did. You know what I mean? Because, there was a time in the 80s in California, gay guys would be burned on the corner and police looked the other way. Oh, we didn't see anything. We don't know who started the fire. We're talking about humans that just because they know who they are, they're being burned alive. I mean, I can't even think about that paradigm for a minute. I don't like you as a gay person. You're not hurting anybody. I'm gonna set you on fire. Just think about that for a minute. How sick does somebody have to be to set somebody on fire? You know what I mean? Where does that hatred come from? And why? Because, like I said, I've got countless documents here that I've read that have shown me homosexuality existed for a very long time in African ancestry. You know what I mean? Before colonization. And the ideas of intolerance only came about with colonization, because even the concept of what white was It wasn't until like 1647, 1680, somewhere in there, that white people defined what white was. And the only reason they did that was because they wanted to define Africans as 3/5 of a person, so they could do what they did. So they could break into your house and rape your whole goddamn family, rape your children, but say, well, being gay is wrong. Well, there's a hypocrisy there that doesn't make sense to the educated person that wants to do better. I've had a lot of Christian friends where I've had to say goodbye to, because I'm like, and especially if you're black, if you are black and you still believe in Jesus, I have to, and it's not our fault. Like I said, you have to imagine what has been done to our ancestors in 500 years. You look at what white people are doing to us now. Just imagine when we had no rights. There was a time when it was the law that we were not able to take whites to court because of the things they would do to us. Now, why would that be? We weren't allowed to own weapons? Why would that be? You know what I mean? And then we look at concepts like their hatred towards us, and how that has been bred into black generations. You know what I mean? And concepts like parents raping their children, black parents never. You know what I mean? It was a community. When your child was going down to play with whoever, you knew that they were safe. And you knew if they acted up, that those parents would handle them accordingly. And you trusted those parents because you knew that you were those parents. And if their child came to your home and they behaved inappropriately, you're going to handle that little ass. You know what I mean? Not in a way where you're trying to hurt them. You love them. And it took all of us to raise all of us. Now, it's none of that. Now, parents can't even punish their children. My point to that is, as black people, and particularly as gay people, we have got to get outside of this, that the oppressor opinions of us is accurate. And there are a couple of, and I'm going to point them out here. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I listened to her belief on homosexuality, and she spawned, and she's dead now, but her belief spawned from colonization. That being gay was a completely white quality, and that it was instilled into us from colonization. Well, and now keep in mind, she is a brilliant doctor. I mean, her philosophies on everything else, she was spot on. But I don't think she researched early African history to understand that homosexuality was just a part of that. Dr. Johnson is another one. And now that brother, he's brilliant. And he's got wonderful beliefs until it comes to gay people. He has terrible thoughts about gay people. And I'm like, brother, do you even know any gay people? That's just like white people saying, well, I'm not racist. I have a friend that's black. I mean, I'm not racist. I don't know anybody that's black, but I can tell you all about them. Well, now, wait a minute. If you've never had any experience with gay people, how do you know? The other side of that is, I've known people whose partners left them for the same sex. When the heterosexual relationship breaks up for a homosexual purpose, that partner is scorned, and they will hate gay people. Honestly, I worked with a girl that was like that, and I'm like, girl, why do you hate gay people? So, I mean, I had to go up in her ass. Like, girl, you are not going to disrespect me like that. Well, as I found out, her ex-husband left her for a man. Here was the kicker, though. Her current husband, she was cheating on with the manager of the department I worked in. Where is the logic? How can you say it's okay to be, and these are married people that took their vows in a church. I don't have any value in churches, but for those that do, how are you going to say that being gay is worse than you cheating on your spouse? Coming home to your spouse knowing you sucked a whole other man's dick. How do you do that? That's what I want to know. That's all.
He be going. Well, you already answered, Jaleel. You already answered, right? Oh, yeah, you already went. All right, so I think it already existed in ancient Africa from what I've seen and I've researched. For this particular question, I really can't. Okay. Yeah, for this particular question, I can't answer from what I've seen and researched. It already existed in ancient Africa, so that's all I got to say on that part. Now the next question that we have, even though intersectionality does exist and that people are both black and same gender loving or are part of the LGBT, do you feel that you are black first? We're gonna go Bongani. Oh wait! Before we get started, now this live kind of getting kind of long, lengthy, so we're gonna try to leave the responses under like 3 minutes. All right.
Forgive me. My apologies. I know I am very wordy. But like I said, there are so many avenues that really need to be touched on that this conversation could be several months long, actually. You know what I mean? But I forgot what the question was. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
You're good. The question is, even though intersectionality does exist and that people are both black and gay or SGL,
right.
LGBT, do you feel like you're black first?
That is a situation that prior to a few weeks ago, I was black first, honestly. But now I have to be gay first because a lot of my brothers and sisters would want to hurt us as a result of being gay. So when I want us to have liberation from oppression, once we get away, we still have to deal with the ignorance of the black community that is still harboring a lot of these oppressor qualities that are going to be taken out on us. So I can't say, I know that's a very difficult question because ideally I'm black first. I'm African first, you know what I mean? But African and black are interchangeable. Although I'm trying to get away from using the term black because it does not actually describe a person. It describes a color. And so if we want respect, reparations, things of this nature, we have to identify ourselves in a way that's measurable. And being black is not measurable. Being African is measurable. You know what I mean? So yes, that's all there.
Me personally, I would consider myself gay before me being black, and I'm going to say that because I really haven't had any. I've been called things like nigger, black, monkey, and all of these things, but I've been called faggot, sissy, and punk. I want to say about 100 times more, and most of those remarks have come from people who look like us. And my thing is I'm one of those type of people. I'm big, and that's why I get a lot of shit on my channel is because I hold black people accountable for all of that homophobic shit because I'm one of those things where I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you view as a man. I don't care what your views on weddings or whatever it is. You a grown-ass man, you a grown-ass woman, and you should know how to treat people the way you want to be treated, especially coming from the fact that your grandmother, your great-grandparents have dealt with slavery. If you know how it feels to be treated like shit and how to be in a minority, the fact that you will go talk down on another, and it's not all of you, but the fact that they will go talk down on another minority, I don't give a damn what your religion is. I don't give a damn what your thoughts and opinions are because we can't even you can't even be able to look at me as the same person. I mean, because if you really want to get into it, I watch black people all summer march for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, this, that, and the third. Had my gay ass been shot and been laid out on the street, it would have been people that look like this saying, oh, well, that's what them punks get. I'm tired of them faggots anyway. Oh, he probably was out here tricking people. That's exactly what they would have said. So yes, I am gay first, because until you get to know me for a black man, you need to know me for who I am, which is gay.
Alrighty, for me personally, I'm neither one first. This is the reason why. For me personally, I've been, it's always changed over time. I don't think, for me personally, I don't think it ever was a situation where I was like, I'm gay first. I think it was always a situation I'm black first. But then as time went on, they're both in the same spot. Nothing's higher, nothing's lower, nothing's more important, nothing's least important. Because here's the thing, I do agree with everyone here is that when we do deal with our own black brothers and sisters, they like to say, use their gay card and stuff. You're part of the LGBT. You guys have all these rights. And yeah, but here's the thing about it. The thing about it is that, guess what? We're black as well. Racism still exists within the LGBT. So yes, on paper, we may have certain rights. But guess what? Socially, we don't have those rights. Same thing as a black man, black woman. On paper, as human beings, citizens, law-abiding citizens, you have certain rights. But guess what? Socially, you don't have those rights. That's the reason why you can't go up to a random neighborhood full of a particular type of individual and don't expect the police to be on your ass. It goes the same way. But for me personally, I don't put neither one of them above, below, anything like that, because they're both important to me, and I'm not exchanging either one of them. Because when there's black issues, I'm going to be affected. But when there's gay issues, I'm going to be affected as well. And I feel like when people want you to be, quote unquote, just black first, they want you to, quote unquote, forget the gay side, because guess what? When you're black, we're going to help. You're going to help us with our cause. But guess what? When it's gay, you're on your own, and we can just dispose of you. But that's the way that I've seen it. So, because people always have this thing of, you're black first, but yet, am I really black first? Because when I was, quote unquote, black first and I was helping the black cause, y'all disposed of me once you realized I was gay. And another thing I did want to touch up on is that y'all, I forgot who mentioned it. You mentioned something about about fighting. Talking about us as black gays, we had to always fight and stuff like that because we straight men never really had to fight as much. To defend themselves, I would say, as much. Even though that can be taken here or there, whatever. That's not what we're here to discuss. But I will say is that because of the hyper masculinity standards, where we hold masculinity, this even drips into the gay communities, that we hold with the hyper masculinity standards, we hold masculinity on this pedestal, and anything that's considered feminine or anything that is, quote unquote, less than or feminine gets the worst. That's the reason why women get treated the way they do. That's the reason why gays get treated the way they do. Even within the gay community, masculine gay guys are put on a pedestal. Meanwhile, the queens or the ones that wear the hair, the nails are actually more feminine, visibly and through mannerisms. They're considered to be less than. You get what I'm saying? Hopefully I worded that right. I'm doing that straight off the dome. All right. So the next question we have, now this is my question. I'm going to go in, but I'm going to go last. Oh, you going? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So wait, I wanted to piggyback on the last question. Well, I went on the last one. So what I wanted to say, because this has been this ongoing thing about, well, I feel like the LGBT community has progressed a lot faster than the Black community. That's not our fault. Your fault, because my thing is, I'm fighting for everybody. I'm fighting for LGBT rights. I'm fighting for Black rights. I'm fighting for immigrant rights. I'm fighting for fights for women. So why did we get to a point where we made it a race on who gets it first? Because their thing is, oh, well, y'all have white gay men, and that's why y'all progressing faster. I'm not saying what you're saying is false, but what I'm saying is, if we're all progressing for a better world, why does it matter who gets it first? Because even still, like I said, white gays and Black gays, even Latino gays, two different lives. Them white gays don't claim us when we go to Pride. Them white gays don't claim us. So right. Telling me about the privilege and the things that we have on white gays, we live two different lives. I will get called the N-word faster from a white gay man than a white straight man. Yeah. So that's what I'd say.
Okay. Hey,
Hold
Conscious.
on one
I don't know
second.
if you're still. Okay, gotcha.
Sorry. Just one thing quickly. So, the thing that makes us different as gay men is our ability to not be defined by the societal stereotypes that define your average male, which is why your average male are doing all of these crazy, reckless things that really result from no self honesty, no self love. You know what I mean? And again, it goes back to the nature of the oppressor. I would like to point out that during the civil rights movement, MLK gets the majority of the credit for being the leader. MLK was not the leader behind the scenes. His name was Rustin Baird, excuse me. He was that brother he was the civil rights, you know what I mean? But guess what? He was also gay. The churches said, we don't want you leading our civil rights because we don't think people will like you or respect you because you're gay. Not because you are. And the thing was, he wrote several of MLK speeches, honestly. You know what I mean? And I think that the who we are and what we do is often overlooked by ignorance and intolerance because the only thing that matters is who we're dating, which really outside of the person involved. I mean, I know straight people and I'm like, I don't care who you're dating, I don't care who you're sleeping with, you know what I mean? That's none of my business. But for them, they need to know so they can apply hate as necessary. This is partly due to we live in and I like that point that you have pointed out, Stephen, about the male and feminine, masculine and feminine being treated less than. We live in a patriarchal society where men are held at a higher standard, at a higher value. But the truth is, women are actually of that. If you go back to African spirituality, teaches us that you need a feminine and a masculine energy to make harmony. But the feminine energy is 90% of that equation. The male energy is only 10. Keep in mind, the male is equally as important, but when push comes to shove, we all came from an African woman. You understand what I'm telling you? We didn't come from no man, okay? We came from a woman. So I think we just need to keep that in mind. Like, just because somebody is effeminate or if the person is a woman, it never should mean they're less than. In fact, they're more than.
Before we move on, I do want to touch upon this because, hey, Conscious, this is something that Conscious me is taught me. It's called divine masculine and divine feminine. Now, I was gonna do a video on it. I probably still am, but so let me just get my notes for that real quick. All right, so with divine masculine and feminine, it's every person, every individual has it. We all have a feminine energy and a masculine energy. But however, there's different examples how to express those energies. So you have mannerisms, traits like character traits, and the way you express yourself, the way you dress, and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to when it comes to mannerisms, I would say there's a cultural difference because for what I mean by cultural, that some culture you may do something that may be considered masculine. But however, in the States, you do that may not be considered a masculine thing to do. You get what I'm saying? Then with expression, I would say this also would be a bit of a difference when it comes to physical or your mental, when it comes to you expressing. But however, with your character traits and stuff like that, I think that's like more of a universal. Do not quote me on that. When people think of when we tell people to get in touch with their masculine femme, they think of the quote unquote the worst. They think of when people tell men to get in touch with their feminine side, they think of men in hair, nails, and all the extra. And they think of of the quote unquote the worst you can think of for a black man, especially people that think that a black man should be a black man. They think of the hair, nails, dresses, and stuff like that. That's not what that means. Or of when women, they think of men clothes on, trying to quote unquote be men and stuff like that. That does not mean that. Now, what that actually means is that it's a spectrum. So with that being said, you may have a heterosexual man, and when they say get in touch with your feminine side, that means sometimes means get in touch with that character traits of femininity, which is the nurturing spirit, being emotional, being able to express how you feel, being able to talk things out. Now, however, in that same sentence, when it comes to gay men or people that are part of the LGBT, yes, they may want to express their feminine side more. So you may have a man in a wig, quote unquote. This whole idea of thinking that these people are trying to be like women, but however, here's the thing. We're in a society where women are hyper feminine and men are hyper masculine. If you want to get in touch with your feminine side, of course, you're going to do things that women do, because guess what? That is how you express femininity. So, and the same thing goes for men. Touch on the next question. All right. Next question that we have. Now, this right here is my question here. How do you feel whenever someone makes the notion that same people are anti-life, cannot procreate, which will wipe race, participate in pedophilia, and are against the black community? Now, I feel like Julia's going to go off, so I'm going to do him last. I'm going to go to you, Bongani.
Yes. So you know that they just recently they're in process of getting the legislation to add a new sexual orientation to the taboo sexual orientations that are already in existence. And let me explain that further. So the LGBTQ will have a P at the end of it. That P stands for pedosexual. So they are trying to group pedophiles with taboo sexual orientations. This is only because, I mean, when you get down to it, the oppressive force are the true pedophiles. You know what I mean? You look at people like that Weinstein guy, or whoever. You remember that white dude that got killed up in prison, and then they said he hung himself, but the autopsy revealed that he did not hang himself. He was murdered. Now, he was murdered because he had a list of all of the elite class that used to go to what's known as Pedo Island, which apparently is an island that allows child sex. Right. So these ideas that pedophiles would be gay are not founded in reality, because if you look at your average pedophile, they are in fact married, they are white, they are middle-aged, and they usually have a family of their own, statistically speaking. So they don't even live a gay lifestyle. Even if they are a homosexually behaved pedophile, they still lead the life of a heterosexual. They do not lead the life of a gay guy. So we cannot say that for any logical purposes that's even anything that could be proven. You know what I mean? And again, that just goes to ignorance. That's all that is.
So, I'm about to go in. So first of all, I'm just gonna get the pedophilia out the way. I don't know why they're trying to put that into the LGBT thing, because if that's the case, that means all straight people are queer, because the majority of pedophiles are straight white men. I'm just gonna wrap that in the bow and we gonna sign, seal, deliver. My thing is, I'm getting tired of them talking about gays can't procreate and they can't have this and the third. Bitch, the majority of y'all straight hoes don't even take care of y'all kids. Let's start there. It is millions of kids in adoptions, at fire stations, at police stations, because y'all hoes be dropping these girls off, because you can't deal with it no more. You can't take it no more, this and the third. Some of y'all be getting rid of y'all kids to please a man who wouldn't want you and still wouldn't piss on you you if you was on fire, but you're worried about the LGBT community talking about we can't procreate. If you want to be real, it's the LGBT community who are taking care of y'all kids because you couldn't take care of them. So before you want to be like, they can't procreate, they can't have kids, this and the third, let me tell you something. Having a child is easy. Taking care of one, now that's where you have to do the hard work. Anybody can have it. I can go have a baby. I can go get a girl pregnant. That's slight work. Taking care of it. Financial responsibility, making sure he has food, clothes, making sure that when he or she wants to do ballet or basketball, that they're taking care of it. Now that is where accountability and responsibility comes in. I get so sick of them tired of talking about, oh, y'all can't have kids. Okay, so you have women who have a low egg count, they can't have kids. Does that make them less of a person? You have men who have a low sperm count. Does that make them less of a person? Oh, they can still get into the gates of heaven. Oh, okay. But my gay ass can't. But I'm sitting here raising your kids. It's a lot of these women who go to gay men to help them take care of some of these niggas' kids because they can't take care of them. So, and it's always, the majority is always straight black men who always say that too. Oh, they said they can't have kids and they can't procreate, and the black family, this and the third. Bitch, before you talk about the black family, make sure you take care of your goddamn kids. Some of y'all $100,000 in child support worried about the black family. Bitch, you need to pay your child. Let's pay your goddamn child support. Bitch, go take care of your kids. Your kids sitting in a shitty ass diaper for the past 3 days, and you want to talk about the advancement of the black family? Fuck out of here. I'm sorry.
Nah, that was some funny ass shit. I ain't gonna flex. I knew you was gonna go in. I just seen you where your finger went up and you put your head. I just knew you was gonna go off. Oh my god. All right. So the first thing I want to, I'm not gonna get into that. But here's the thing about that. It's a lot of it was a situation. I was on Bingo Live, and me and Michauli already talked about it. But I was on Bingo Live, basically talking to a bunch of homophobes and transphobes. The conversation didn't go well because, it was his panel, so he was able to manipulate the conversation any way he wanted to. But within that conversation, a lot of things kept coming up, which I would say I tend to find more of a repetitive thing. So I decided to write some of those things down and basically talk about them. All right, so the first thing, people like to say the household, 2-parent household. Conscious, you taught me this too, and it also brought this to my attention. It doesn't matter if you have a fucking 2-parent household, because guess what? If both of those parents are fucked up, the child gonna be fucked up. But however, if you have a 1-parent household, yeah, they may have a little pain here and there because they want the other parent. But guess what? You still have a possibility of that child coming out right. It all depends on the stability and the mentality of the parent that's taking care of the child. That's first. All right, the next thing that we have is the pedophilia. I'm about to say pedophilia. You know how I always mess pedophilia. I do not like how. Okay, I have 2 standpoints on this. I'm gonna start with the obvious one. I do not like how they try to put pedophilia on the gay community, because here's the thing. I can't refute that there's gay pedophiles. I can't refute that. There's gay pedophiles, but however, there's also straight pedophiles that also are just, now, because people are gonna say, there are straight men, quote unquote, but however, they engage in gay activities. That's what I mean by gay pedophiles. When I say straight pedophiles, I'm talking about people that live their life as a heterosexual man, but however, they prey on younger girls. That's what I mean by that. So you can't put that as a gay issue. That is a people's issue. That's what people have to understand. Pedophilia, I'm going to say pedophilia. Pedophilia is a gay issue. Pedophilia is a people's issue, not a gay issue. That's one thing I want to say. But the other standpoint I have on pedophilia is that, once again, Conscious brought this to my attention, is that I feel like in America, we are so quick to dispose of those individuals. Because even like Bongani said, he said how the man inside the cell, I think he said the man inside the cell killed the guy because he was a pedophile, something like that. And for me, and plus I've seen a story on it, I find it so hypocritical how you are in the same place that he's at, but yet you find out what he did and you killed him. Bitch, you're a murderer. You have no leg to stand on. even though I do understand certain situations happen, sometimes your moral compass does come into effect. But however, there's no room for you. There's no room for you either. So you can't be sitting up there so quick to just judge somebody. Not saying that pedophilia is right, but it's saying this how people are so quick to dispose of these individuals instead of rehabilitate these individuals. Because like Conscious said before, there's are pedophiles but don't participate in it. What do we do for those individuals that have constant ideas of these fantasies or these sexual urges or attractions? What do we do for those individuals? And I don't want the community to be the type of community that just bash. Yeah, I get it, but however, I don't want us to repeat the cycle of our oppressors. Because you like, we can sit up and talk about, oh, it's a mental illness for people who like who's pedophiles, but keep in mind too, a lot of people think that we have a mental illness as well. So I don't want us to repeat the cycle of oppressing another group because we don't participate, but I don't want us to be so quick to dispose and get rid of instead of being like, you know what, I understand that, you know, maybe something you're going through, whatever, you know, I'm here for you. I'm not encouraging what you do, but yet, you know, I want to rehabilitate. You get what I'm saying? So that's my idea on pedophilia. Now, when it comes to this whole anti-life situation, people are very hypocritical. They like to say, oh, you guys cannot procreate. And while I was on that bingo live, that panel, whatever, talked to a whole bunch of homophobes, transphobes, they kept talking about you can't procreate. And they kept talking about this hypothetical. What happened if everybody was gay? What would our race be? That's a hypothetical. That would never happen. Because guess what? The LGBT, we still procreate. How can you guys still procreate? Well, for one, we still have pansexuals. Two, we have sapiosexuals. We have bisexual people. We have trans people. Because keep in mind, trans identity is not a sexuality. So there's a lot of trans women that also participate in heterosexual, well, in the other people, the transphobe, homophobes' eyes, since that is considered still a quote unquote, still participate in heterosexual sex. So that does not define it. And some of them actually do have children as well. We have non-binary individuals. That once again, that is how you express yourself. That's not a sexuality. Yes, they have children as well. Intersex individuals have children. Now, when it comes to the idea of gay people, we have to keep in mind too. With gay people, we have surrogacy. We also have people. I know a gay woman. She had sex with a man just to have a child. And I remember when I was on the panel, I was trying to explain that to them. They just wasn't getting the concept. The point I really want, just because we have homosexual relationships, attractions, does not take away from the point or the fact that we want to procreate or we want to be parents. That it doesn't take away from that. So I don't want people to think, oh, you're anti-life because you're homosexual. That doesn't mean anything. The surrogacy, and then people think that when I say that, they think I'm saying that whenever I say gay people can procreate, they think I'm saying that if two men get together, they can have a child. No. Even though we are gay, even though we have homosexual relationships, homosexual experiences, but guess what? A lot of them have heterosexual sexual activities. It happens. Drunk one night. You may have a child. Sometimes, but however, in the end, you still need a man and a woman to procreate. And honestly, I feel like sometimes when some people bring that up, they're trying to bring it up in a I'm up here, but yet, you know, you're down here because you cannot procreate. You know? Now back to that whole anti-life thing. Like, once Conscious is like he be teaching me a lot. But one thing Conscious brought up, he said, I find it so funny how people could be so hostile and stuff, keep this energy when it comes to gay people about being quote unquote anti-life, but they don't have the same energy for other methods that they use. One thing would be celibacy, people that want to be celibate, masturbation, vasectomies, abortion. All of those things are the same, but yet we tend to demonize one of them, or actually two of them, because some people are 50-50 when it comes to abortion, but we demonize not all of those things if you're going to keep that same energy. And we also have to keep in mind too, the people that want to be celibate, the people that are nuns, priests, and that. So that's just my standpoint on that. And I think it's quite ridiculous when people bring that up. Anyway, because keep in mind too, we're less than 5% of the population, so that wouldn't even make any sense. Just saying, but you know, I digress. All right, so everybody's good on that. Want to go to the next question? All right, so next question. Let's see. All right, the next question here is, what is considered to be homophobic, and is it considered to be homophobic if someone disagrees with your SGL LGBT folk sexuality? So if someone disagrees with your sexuality, is that homophobic? And what is considered to be homophobic? Let me start with, let's start with Jaleel. All right.
Me personally, I do think it's homophobic because, first of all, you can't agree or disagree if I'm gay or not. If I tell you that I'm gay, it's nothing to agree or disagree with. If I tell you 1 + 1 is 2, you can disagree on it all you want. It's going to be 2. It will be the same as if I tell you I'm black, if I tell you I'm African American, there's nothing to disagree on. There's nothing to agree on because at the end of the day, I'm an African American male. So that would be like a white person, if you telling a white person that you're black and they be like, I disagree. Who the fuck are you to tell me what I am and what I'm not? So yes, I personally think it's homophobic because it's like you at that point, you're trying to dismiss, like somebody said this on the grapevine. You could disagree with this shirt. I can take this shirt off. You can't disagree with who I am as a person. So that's how I feel about it.
You know what? I agree with both of you all. The thing here is that most irrational people that are get their sources of intelligence from ignorant sources. They want to be that way. They want to be ignorant. They want to be irrational. So if you are a person of rationality and capable of understanding situations and applying open-mindedness and unconditional love, I don't know, just things that make the world exist healthy, you will not be held in high regard here. You know what I'm saying? This is a world where, American businesses are it's good to go out and take over another business and lay all their people off. That's the, you know what I mean? So we have to understand that these morals here are nothing that we should ever want to model ourselves after, because this is not forthcoming of life. This is how you kill a planet. This is how you kill all the organisms on that planet. And this is what exactly we're seeing. If you want to be intolerant, you know what I mean? And homophobia is part of that. But the thing with homophobia is, generally speaking, of course, there are always exceptions, that individual is gay themselves. They just are in self-hatred. So just think about how many homophobic people that, if they were open with themselves, would make a larger gay community and make things a little bit more accepting. But because so many are afraid to be who they are, it makes it look like our community is much smaller. But truthfully, it's just the ones that are aware and are willing to be open with themselves. You know what I mean? But I assure you that, and my experience with homophobes, they are gay themselves. Yes. Just afraid.
Alrighty. Now I'm gonna answer this question. Homophobia is this fear, is this fear, is this hatred, dislike for LGBT folk. What I'm gonna say is it homophobic for a person to disagree with our sexuality? For me, no, because let's take pedophilia for example. I'll be like, oh, I disagree with that. I'm not really into that or whatever. But however, the thing is, we don't call people homophobic because they quote unquote disagree. We call people homophobic because what happens after the fact if you disagree is that you trying to take away our rights. You're hurting us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's the other actions that come into effect. That is where the homophobia comes in at. Now, however, they from you disagreeing, but people have to mind of to disagree, but yet don't take it too far. You get what I'm saying? People have this idea of since since I believe this, I'm gonna do it, which is okay. But the thing is, people have this idea is I believe this, which means that you can't do that. And the thing is about that, what makes us different from pedophilia, because I know some people are like, well, you just said the thing about pedophilia. That makes us different between gay pedophilia is because with pedophilia, the thing is the contributing factor that people are having an issue with is because this child may be taken advantage of. It may not be ready to be in that relationship. And the thing is with us is that you have to realize we're talking about 100% grown adults that are aware of what's going on, so as you can't put that same factor in place. You get what I'm saying? So let's go to that was it for that question. Everyone was good. All right. So the next question, I'm trying. Let's see. Okay, if you had to pick, who do you think is more homophobic, men or women, and who do you think has more of an impact on the homophobic rhetoric, beliefs, and behavior, men or women? Let's start with Bongani.
I would say that generally women are a bit more open-minded than men. So I would probably guess, even though I've known some homophobic women, but more often it's men, definitely. And I find that it's really not because they have any rational, educated, logical, concrete ideas as to why they don't. They just don't because everybody else says don't, or their religion says don't. But there's no concrete evidence as to why. You know what I mean? So I would go with guys.
Wait, but the other question was who do you think has more of an impact? Is it still guys for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because guys are more likely to be violent. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, right. Because men are more likely to be violent. So if you are gonna have an issue, a female is more than likely she's not gonna get into a confrontation with a male. I generally speaking, you know what I mean. But a man, he'll get a couple of his boys and they'll come and jump you. You know what I mean? Regardless of, you know what I'm saying? They're just, or it might just be him, but usually they travel in groups like that. Although, after they jump you for being a gay guy, they're all going to go back to dude's crib and suck each other off, but then go home to their wives. That.
I'm sorry, Conscious. I've been dealing with this all day. This panel been all right.
So I'm going to go with men. I think this is going to sound harsh, and to all the women that's going to watch this, don't take this the hard way. But most of y'all boyfriends and most of y'all husbands don't value y'all opinions anyway. Is it wrong? Yes. Is it messed up? But and that's not my opinion. You know, I'm all for the empowerment, but most of y'all men don't even listen to y'all nor value y'all opinions. So I'm going to go with the men. Because, and I think men will have more of an impact because I guarantee you, if all black, I'm just going to speak of black men. If black men right here, right now was to say, if somebody was to say something gay and a large group of black men was to be like, ain't nothing wrong with being gay, who cares? I guarantee you, at the whole homophobic, the whole wave of hatred towards gays in the black community would stop. It's going to take that one let Drake, Lil Wayne, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, 2 Chainz, Lil Boosie, let all them say, I'm cool with gay people. They all cool. They ain't bothering nobody. They just minding their business. It'll be done. The women are naturally going to follow. I know so many women who try to talk to their husbands and to their boyfriends and this and that. Half of them be like, girl, I'm not, shut your ass up. Like, and that's not for all of them, but you know how those niggas are. So I'm gonna go with the men. I think the men are have the most issues, but I also think they have the impact.
All righty. Now for me, I'm going to agree and disagree. All right. So who I feel like is more homophobic? I would say they're both equally homophobic. I would say men would be more of the you can see with the eye homophobic, but I would think women would be more of the homophobe that they internalize it more. What we pay attention to are also women that are like to be around the gay, be a part of the gay community. Use us as as their good Judy and stuff like that. But the thing is that sometimes when they get mad, you can hear the homophobic rhetoric that sometimes that you wouldn't see when you first meet them, and they have a nice face and stuff. So I would say men would be more easier to catch, would be more physical, but women would be more emotional and to the core. Now, who I think has more of the impact, I'm gonna say women, because men, yeah, they have their ideas on gay, this, and the third, but I would say women, would have carry a lot of rhetoric and stuff like that. At least with my experience, what I've come in contact with, a lot of men are homophobic because they don't want to be perceived as gay. Because guess what? When you're perceived as gay, for women, it's hard for you to get women. It's hard for you to get have sexual partners and stuff like that. So I would think, for me, I would think women would take the cake when it comes to more of an impact when it comes to rhetoric and stuff like that. Because even when you have some celebrities that say they support the LGBT, yeah, you have men and third, but then you also, if you pay attention, you also have a lot of women that like to say, oh, you supporting this? That's not a real woman. Why you supporting the LGBT? Yeah. And I noticed that a lot of men, the ones I've talked to, a lot of men usually are homophobic or against it or anti-LGBT, because of women. That's what I've noticed. Personal opinion. Sorry. All right, let's get it. That was question. I'm assuming that you good? Good. All right. All right. So the next question that we have is that, do you feel, now this question I wanted to bring up earlier, but because you mentioned something. Okay, this question says, if you do you feel that as same-gender loving, that explaining our existence to straight people is a way to validate, to see if we're worthy of basic standard human rights? I'm gonna say it one more time. Is that, do you feel that as same-gender loving, that explaining our existence to straight people is a way to validate, to see if we're worthy of basic standard human rights? I'm gonna start with Julian Macaulay. Let's go.
Okay. Yes and no, but I'm going to go towards more so no, because, and I'm just going to keep it real cute and simple. I just feel like who I am as a person, I feel like if you get to know me as who I am as a person, who I sleep with, at that point really shouldn't even matter. Like, one thing that I always love about, I have a lot of straight friends, and one thing they always say, one thing I love about you is that even though you're gay, you're so cool to hang out with. You've never disrespected me. Like, I'm very comfortable with you. Like, I could have some boxers on, and I know that you're not going to be looking at me up and down, doing this, that, and the third. It's a respect thing. So once we get to a level that once you just see me as a regular person, once I tell you that I'm gay or I'm bi or I'm trans or whatever, it's almost like at that point it doesn't matter, because I respect you as a person and you respect me as a person. So to me, it don't get no simpler than that to me.
To that, I would say, how many straight men could hang out with a female in her bra and panties and not be tempted to look? That's an unfair requirement. You know what I mean? Like, there should not be that, well, we can do it, but you can't. You know what I mean? And we're going to look down on you because you do, even though we do. You know what I mean? Like, that is a double standard that exists because of the oppressor. I forgot the question, though. What was the question again?
All right. The question was, do you feel that as a same-gender loving person, that explaining art to straight people is a way to validate, to see if we're worthy of basic standard human rights?
If you are going to base humans getting rights based on status quo, then according to them, you know what I mean? Yes. But for me, ideally, no. Again, what I do, for my relationship, does not have any bearing over my self as a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Alrighty. I'm gonna say, because my whole idea has changed over some time, how I feel about this. So I'm gonna say yes. I think it is a way that we try to explain to straight people how we are equal of basic human rights, because any human being in this world should not be trying to ask for freedom when they're a citizen or they're a law-abiding. Shouldn't have to ask for rights that are quote unquote already given to everybody else. That's the thing about it. That's kind of like a real weird state to be. So I would say yes, us trying to explain our existence. Oh, I can procreate. That's the reason why, quote unquote, I should be treated equal. I feel like that's the reason. I feel like we that is a way for us to try to validate the see for basic human rights. Even though I'm not going to be fake, I do understand that we're kind of going to have to do that to get some people to understand certain things, because I feel like certain people just don't see it through our lens. We have to explain to them, yes, we can procreate because da 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 da, or yes, we are not anti-life because da 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 da. So that's how I feel about it. All right, so that's how. Is that all we have for the that question? Oh, we're good. All right, so we got the last question, and when this happens, I'm gonna cam down. I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna have you guys go. All right. All right. So the last question is, what is gaydar? Does it really exist? And if so, what is its accuracy? We're gonna start with Michauli. I'm gonna.
Okay, so a gaydar is pretty much like okay, so a gaydar for me is when you see a guy and it's small things that you can pick up on. Sometimes it's not always feminine, sometimes it's not always masculine, but I feel like a gaydar is like one of those things where you can pick up and you know that somebody's gay or somebody is at least curious. I use my gaydar quite often. Sometimes I'm wrong, but a lot of times I'm right. So I think it's just I personally think it's real. Because I'm a firm believer that you know what something is, because I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like because I am gay and I know what my qualities are, I can, when I see somebody else with those same qualities or those same traits, and it could be just the smallest stuff, I kind of be like, oh, okay, you're kind of doing the same thing like me. Oh, okay, I see how you did X, Y, and Z. That's kind of similar. And at that point, I can tell by dialogue. I can tell by even like something small as somebody picking up an apple. And that doesn't mean like they're picking up an apple extra flamboyant, but it's just that like, it's just a vibe. Like I can feel somebody's energy like, oh, okay, this is giving me very much, I don't know how to say it in a direct answer, but that's my thought of a gaydar.
I definitely agree. Use it very frequently. I would say that my accuracy is 100%. And I would say that because of the times that I knew about, it was true. The other times, I really wouldn't be able to know 100% unless I went up and asked a person. But you really can't do that because not everybody. Now, just because you have gaydar, it doesn't mean that that person is comfortable with who they are to the degree where they're going to talk about it. You know what I mean? They can be gay, but they're in the closet. You know what I mean? So yes, I find mine to be very accurate.
All righty. For me personally, yes. And like it says in the comment right there, gaydar and homosexuals' intuition. It's kind of like a woman's intuition. I feel like we all have it. all gays, LGBT have it. But for some reason, I feel like mine is broke. I may have to go to the shop, get it fixed or something. Because sometimes I be like he want to be my gay friend. I be like, my other gay friend. I be like, I just can't tell. But however, with me, my intuition, I think with me, sometimes I don't know how to listen to my intuition because I always try to be open-minded and stuff. But yeah, I do believe that it does exist because a lot of times, sometimes I'll be like, and I'll be like, oh, okay, then find out later on I wasn't too far off. I may have been wrong about the sexual orientation, but I knew I see him. He part of the community. He one of the girls. Not biological one, but he one of the girls, LGBT. All right, so that is it for our show today. What I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna have the special guests. I'm gonna have them make their exiting statements or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm over here eating Oreos and shit. So sorry, but I'm gonna have them over here make their exiting statements. Let people know where they can find you. Let them know what you're doing if you have anything coming up. And by the way, next time we have this panel, we'll be having another special guest. His name is Conch, and he will be here. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to start with Jaleel, a.k.a. Michauli, a.k.a. Reading Rainbow.
Period. So, guys, like I said, my name is Michauli, Michlui. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at I am Michauli. You can follow my YouTube channel, Reading Rainbow. That's REIGN Rainbow, no spaces. You can follow my music channel. Just type in Michauli on YouTube. My music is there. I'm on Apple Music. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Tidal. I'm on all these things. I'm worldwide. So, yeah, just follow me.
I mean, I am on YouTube under Bongani, I think. You know what I mean? I don't really have a channel, so I mean, I do make my own videos, but I don't really have. I'm still very new to all of this. You know what I mean?
I have a question. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning on taking YouTube more serious, or are you just going to be as a viewer?
I'm just a viewer.
Just a viewer? All right.
Yeah. Just
all right.
Yeah.
All right, but did you enjoy yourself tonight?
I did very much, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate
guys, this is our first panel. This is my first time hosting the panel, so I had little hiccups here and there. But however, over time, you know, more personality gonna come out, more things are gonna come into place. But I really do want to say thank you so very much, Bongani.
I
really appreciate you. You taught me things when you was over there talking and stuff, even though you was going in. Because I felt like, oh snap, you about to go off, like all. You brought it back, and I really appreciate you being here with me tonight. So thank you so very much.
All right,
take care.
Have a good night. All right, now. Bye-bye.
All righty, guys. Thank you. That is it for the video today. By the way, this is called The Reckless Brewer. That last word I'm always known to butcher a word. What is wrong with me? I don't know. But that is gonna, whenever you see that title right there, I'm gonna put whatever the discussion is going to be, and then we're gonna have a panel. I'm gonna bring up multiple people, and we're gonna have a conversation. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really did appreciate it. I will see you guys later.